What's going on, everybody? As you can tell from the intro, we got the front end of the Miata all back together. We got the front clip painted along with the tabs down below, and everything is basically buttoned up minus just getting the bleeder funnel off of the car. It's still a little warm. I made sure the system was all bled. We just have to wait for it to cool down so that we can pull it off and seal it all the way up. The engine bay and everything up front is all set for the 2025 drift season, other than the front suspension. Now we can take all of that unnecessary preload out of the coilovers because we have the front sway bar in. Everything should handle way better, and then we can get set up to do a full alignment on the car. We're gonna bring it into a rack and make sure that's taken care of and everything is squared away. I've done basically all of my alignments at home with squares, tape measures, and toe plates. So we're gonna get a proper alignment, make sure this thing is solid. Now, we're not gonna pull everything out from underneath for suspension-wise in the front. We're just gonna adjust the front coilovers in the vehicle. We're going to loosen up the spring and get that reset to about 1/4 of an inch of preload. The back is about 1/8 of an inch or 3/16, so it's not a lot. It doesn't need to have a ton, especially with a sway bar in the vehicle. And then we're gonna lower the front back down a little bit because I raised it up to kind of counteract the diving in the front when you're in transition, so it's not so darty. Now, when I did the full suspension reset in the back, I dropped the rear end of the car about 1/2 inch, and actually today I dropped it another 1/2 inch. It wasn't quite as low as I wanted it to be able to get more weight transfer to the back end of the car. So I haven't dropped it down yet. I put the big wheels on, the wheels that I normally run on the car for competition. They are 16-inch, not 15s, and the offset is a +40. Having a +40 offset allows for a lot more movement inside the fender. You're a lot less likely for the tire to rub on the outside edge. I do have them rolled quite a bit to allow for my 16-inch +20s, I believe, or 0 offset. I can't remember exactly what the spec is. We're gonna throw those on a little bit later and make sure those fit as well when we start dropping it down and getting everything kind of leveled out. We don't want it to be squatted way to the back. That's not gonna drive very good. We wanna level it out, but have the rear end just a little lower than the front. Basically, my entire fist can go on top of the tire between the fender. That's too much. We're gonna drop that down and get it a little lower to the ground, make it look a little more stancy. But doing that is gonna screw up the entire alignment in the front, so we're gonna have to realign the car before we can take it to an alignment rack. So I'll get right into it. Just need a tape measure and my coilover wrenches. We're gonna go down under the fender and start measuring a few things and get the preload reset and drop it down on the ground some more. Just a helpful hint, anytime you're gonna adjust your coilovers, have like a brass bristle brush or like a plastic brush so that you can brush out the dirty threads unless you have covers. I don't have covers on mine. Make sure you clean out the threads so that the collars turn properly and it doesn't mess up the threads and get all ishy in there. Otherwise you could have problems in the future. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna go ahead and adjust the preload. So I gotta loosen up the small collar on the top, and then we're going to turn the big collar on the top so that the spring can relax. And then we're gonna tighten it back up and get that to just 1/4 of an inch. We're gonna take a measurement to start off just from the top hat up here to where that top collar is. I got 7 inches. So when we reset this, we're gonna see the difference and how much I actually had this preloaded. I want to say it was like 3/4 of an inch to an inch of preload, which is way more than it needs. I could be wrong and I may have adjusted it and just kind of forgot when I did that. But if I remember right, I had a lot of preload on it. So I got the preload all set up. I got it to 1/8 of an inch of preload. I only had about 1/2 inch of preload. It's not as much as I originally thought, so I must have came back at some point last year and kind of took some of that preload out, which is great because it didn't need to be that extreme. Now the spring is set up how we want it. Now we have to drop this down a lot. That's gonna be the main portion of this, is just trying to turn it down and get it lower to the ground. So when we measure in the back from the top hat to the top of the bottom collar, we're at about 7 7/8 of an inch right now. If you measure the coilover up front, we're at 12 3/4. So we're way extended up front compared to the back, just so we can have plenty of steering clearance. Well, we have plenty of clearance with the wheel offset that we have, So we're gonna drop that back down a little bit and make this look a little nicer sitting on the ground, because it's basically a monster truck Miata right now. It just jacked way out, way more than it needs to be. So we're gonna do the same thing, loosen up this collar. We're gonna turn the top collar down and then run the threads down into the bottom cup down here. Not quite as far as it can go, but a long way. All right, I got both sides adjusted to that 11 3/4 to that bottom collar. That is 1 inch full drop on the front. We're gonna get the wheels on it, set this thing on the ground, see what it looks like, and see if we have to go any farther. Well, that's way too much. That's not gonna work. What happened? Oh my goodness. Moving it 1 inch on the coilover slammed it down that much. What the heck? That's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to lift that up. So going 1 inch on the coilover was way too much. I can't hardly even get my pinky under there. That's not gonna work at all. Unless I try and roll the fender more, but I've already rolled the crap out of it, so. That's not gonna work. I'm all about like, it's cool to have a slammed car, but with drifting, it's gotta be able to function too. And with this, when you're high in angle and you go over any type of bump, it's gonna just rip on this fender so bad. We gotta lift that up. I can't leave that. The rear of the car is good. There's plenty of room up there. But actually, I mean, it's still pretty low. And these are the smaller of the big wheels. The other ones will probably rub. I'm talking about these ones too. These are my 16x8s, whereas the orange ones are my 16x7s. I mean, not gonna lie, it looks pretty sick, but it's not gonna function right. This side's not bad. Why is this side have an inch on top of the tire and that's only got a 1/4 of an inch? What's going on with this side? I wonder if I read the tape measure backwards. We'll lift it up, take a look. Man, why is it still so low? I don't get that. That's really confusing. What's going on with this thing right now? I'll give you guys a closer look at this. Like, this side, real nice and close, for whatever reason. Then you jump over to the other side, and there's a solid inch. So I want the other side to match this side so that there's plenty of steering clearance, or, you know, clearance when you're going side to side. So when you hit bumps, it doesn't rip on the fender. Now, I don't know why one side is off from the other side. It doesn't really make sense. I could try and like counteract that a little bit on the coilover, but I don't know if it's something to do with maybe the sway bar being back in there. It's kind of twisting on things. It should help balance it out side to side, not have one lower than the other. So I'm gonna look into this a little bit. Something's kind of funny. All right, I think I got it adjusted. Kind of just measured out both sides and split the difference. Raised this side up a little bit more and then lowered the other side a little bit, so that now they're pretty dang close. This side might be just a touch higher than the other side, but I've been drifting this car for 3 years. The chassis has been hit in the front a couple of times. So it's not perfect. The chassis is not perfect. That coilover on the driver's side has also taken an impact. I bent up the upper and lower control arm my second year drifting, but the coilover remained in the vehicle. It didn't get twisted or anything, but it did have an impact, so maybe that's kind of contributing to why it's sitting lower than the other one. I don't know yet. I'm not real sure on how long you can run coilovers before you should swap them out for new ones. I'm not an expert in like how long they last. If anyone knows how long you can actually use coilovers for, drop a comment down below, let me know. I want to know. It's now the next day. I spent basically the entire work day thinking about why this side is not measuring out the same as the passenger side. It dawned on me on my way home from work what the problem is. In my brain, my process is trace it backwards in your process. What did you have to do or adjust to make things fit and work properly? And I remembered when I attached the end links on the sway bar, I had to lift the suspension up and compress it to be able to get those bolts in position. That's the problem. That was what changed everything. I had to actually lift everything up and compress it to get the sway bar to get in position where it needed to be. It's as simple as that. It's just the sway bar tightened everything up and compressed everything. That's why it's sitting over here. So I came home, I made some adjustments. I needed to adjust the ride height anyways. I couldn't get the jack out from under the car without having blocks under the tires. That doesn't make sense when you're at the track, because you only have a little bit of time in between runs to be able to make adjustments or do any fixes. So to pull into the pits, get out, put blocks in front of the tires, get back in, drive it up, then jack the car up. That's too much wasted time when you're trying to make quick adjustments to make the car work better on the track. So I lifted it up a ½ inch in the front, so it's a little bit higher. Now I don't need the blocks underneath to get the jack out. I also couldn't get out of my driveway. It's a pretty steep slanted curb, and it's not functional. It doesn't make any sense. So raise it up a little bit. I'm gonna do the same to the back. I have to raise it up a little bit so I'm not dragging the exhaust or the subframe on the ground. I've grown out of that phase. I want the car to be drivable. So we're gonna make some more adjustments, but turning it lock to lock just the way it is, I'm finding out that on the driver's side, the tire is actually contacting the sway bar. On the other side, on the passenger side, there's like an inch between the tire and the sway bar. So the sway bar right now is actually shifted over towards the driver's side, which is then putting more upward tension on that side. So I kind of figured out the solution. I need to take my hammer and slide the sway bar over and recenter that on the frame rail, and it hopefully should balance out the two sides. Otherwise, the driver's side is just really tight right now, and it's putting a lot of force up onto that sway bar. So that's what we're gonna do, make some adjustments, then we'll go take it for a spin. We'll give you guys a review on the brake booster delete, because I never got to drive that. The whole system is bled, everything feels really good. So we'll take it for a drive, see how the front end feels and how that brake booster delete kit feels now that there's no booster in it. All right, we're just about ready to take this thing out for a drive. After all of the suspension changes with lowering it down and adding the sway bar back into the vehicle, I checked the alignment and it was way out of whack. Normally I have this car set up with a 1/4 inch toe out. It works really good, it snaps good, caster's good, everything is good. Went to check the alignment and it was 1 1/8 inches toed out. Way too much. Just changing the suspension like that, just a little change here and there, makes a huge difference on what your toe and alignment is gonna be. Make sure you keep an eye on that when you start changing ride height, camber, all of that stuff. It all goes together. It's all suspension geometry and science. Make sure you check everything. Don't just go and rip on it because something's probably not gonna work right. So now we got that all set up, got some fresh gas in it. We're gonna get this thing warmed up, put it up on jack stands so we can turn the transmission and rear end, and we should be able to go out and take a little drive. It's really windy out today. It's like 35 degrees and it's starting to snow. It's not salty or anything outside, so we should be able to get a nice test cruise in. Then we can see what this brake booster delete kit feels like. I think I have the brake bias set up okay. It's maybe 50-50, you know, front to rear. I don't know. I'll have to play with that quite a bit to try and dial that in and make that feel really good, because we don't want all the brakes at the rear or all the way at the front. You need to have a good balance. So we'll play with that a little bit, maybe not today, but first track day, we gotta have that figured out. Let's go get this thing warmed up, take it for a cruise. Alright, so it's gonna be really loud and noisy, but first impressions of the brake booster delete, it takes a lot more braking force, or like you need to mean to push it, you need leg strength to do it, because there's no assistance there. It's all you control the brakes, but like it feels really good. You can feel the brakes right away. There's no weird soft feel and then they get firm with the booster. So I like that. It's just I might need different pads so that they grab harder, because like I've had the same pads up front for a couple of years, so I probably just need a refresh. Otherwise I need to resurface the rotors. We'll see. It's driving really good. The front feels really tight. It's not feeling darty. So like it feels really good. Should be a really good season this year. Gotta push the brakes for it to do what you want. I don't know if they maybe need a little more bleeding. They bled really good though. I'm thinking I'll just have to get a more aggressive pad. I'm ready for the season to start. And we're back. Drove really good, drove really smooth, drove really straight. I know I talked about bringing it in to an alignment rack and getting it aligned properly. Probably should still do that, but it still feels really good. I mean, it's driving straight, it's not pulling one way or the other. You can't ask for anything better than that, just using toe plates and some tape measures in the garage. Drives really good. The brake booster delete, however, feels a little bit strange. It's not like it's spongy. I should probably get some more aggressive brake pads for in the front at least. The rear grabbed fine. I tested it a couple of times just in a straight line. It locks them up just fine. The same brake pads I've used. The fronts, however, probably do need to be more aggressive. When you really slam on the brakes, it takes a minute for them to really dig and kind of get warmed up. I mean, it's 35 degrees out too, so they didn't really get a great chance to warm up. So maybe when it's warmer, they'll feel a little better. I did adjust the brake valve, the bias valve a little bit to more towards the front. I don't think it was enough. We'll have to play with that a little bit. But for now, that's gonna wrap things up. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.